Hello friends, welcome to the first episode of Once a Parent. I am Sheetal Bapat and with me I have Dr. Shirisha Sathe, my friend, philosopher and guide. Every parenting journey starts with the words, they're magical, you have a good news. Jubilations, celebrations all over across, and later on we do realize that it is followed by a bad news, which is there's no rule book to parenting. It's all trial and error, work in progress. We all are going to get into an exciting journey together because neither the parents nor the children know what we have signed up for, I would like to draw a simple analogy for parents, and that's one of a gardener. Imagine a gardener who is given a task. He's handed over a seed and just told, nurture it. Little does he know whether this is going to be a flowering plant or a ornamental indoor plant, nothing. Slowly the seed presents its characteristics and then the gardener continues to nurture it. Similar is with parenting. We are into an unknown journey and the journey is exciting and it just unfolds over a period of time. So this is what parenting actually means. So personally, I follow Simon Sinek and really believe in the philosophy of start with the why. Once you know the why of things, it's really easy to figure out the how, what, when, where, it all follows. So today's episode being the opening episode of Once a Parent, which is an effort brought to all of you listeners from me, Sheetal Bapat and Dr. Shirisha Sathe. A few words about Dr. Sathe is something which I would like to begin with. Yes, you won't find her on social media much, but she has a great offline fan following and people who have worked with her have vouched for her effective counseling sessions. And she is a doctor, medical doctor by education, moved on to psychology. She's done her MA psychology and been a practitioner for the last close to 30 plus years, renowned counselor. And I have the privilege of working with her for the last 12 years. So together we have worked in the field of education, working with children, teachers, parents quite extensively. The last 12 years has actually helped us to reach out to more than 1 crore students, almost 40,000 teachers, many schools across 5 states. And that's when we realized that, when we talk about children and nurturing them, a lot goes in strengthening the entire ecosystem, and there are a lot of changes that have happened over a period of time, and parents are an important stakeholder in the overall growth and development of a child. I draw my experiences from my own personal journey of being a parent to 2 daughters. Dr. Shirisha Sathe herself has the same experiences, plus coupled with her insights. I think had I known these insights much before, my journey would have been much more informed. I cherish this journey the most. It's the best part of my life, but yet it could have been a little more different and more meaningful. So today's platform, Once a Parent, is a platform to bring you these insights. We both want to share these insights with you in whichever way, in an organic way. I'm sure this platform is going to develop into in a very organic way. But the first episode is all around understanding the basic germinal fundamentals of parenting, how it has evolved, what do you even like, how we've seen changes in the entire spectrum, and right from the reproductive need to where we are today, how things have really evolved. So I'm going to start this conversation. It's going to be more of a conversation with Shirisha. The conversations we normally have behind scenes are now going to be on screen. So can we just start with maybe your insights on the entire evolution of the parenting scenario?
Hi Sheetal, and hello everyone. See, all of us have heard this sentence that it takes a village to raise a child. Okay, I think let us start with that as well. 2 things which you mentioned is like parenting, your journey of parenting, and of course mine, and I think most of the parents would agree, has been a journey of trial and error. So one of the opening sentence of a book on child psychology and parenting the author says that I was the best mother in the world till my first child was born.
So true.
Okay, so there starts the entire journey of the child as well and of the
Yeah.
parents as well. Okay, but let us understand that this parenting as a concept, as a part of life as being lived, as a process, is not a very recent one. It
Yeah.
has a temporal character and it has been there uh, since evolution and over the history and like at least a history of 4 million years of humans.
True.
And then what were the milestones that happened and the current scenario. So it really has a long history. As you mentioned about reproduction, see, as species, we need to understand where we come from. Okay. Uh, in nature, it always has been that there is a creation or a young one is born, then it's nurtured.
Correct.
Then that animal or organism reproduces something and then dies. That has been a life cycle of all the species and all the organisms throughout the period of evolution. Okay, so we are also a part of that, obviously.
Correct.
Secondly, when it comes to creation or procreation, which means reproduction, again has two aspects to it. One is a sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. So we as human species belong to that category where the reproduction is sexual one,
Correct.
from the heterosexual relationship. Penovaginal sex, which used to be in the earlier days.
Yeah.
Now with the advancement of technology, we have other options as well. But
Correct.
still, so we are the ones who belong to the species which have sexual reproduction. Not only that, we are the species which have the idea of parenting.
Yeah.
And one more peculiarity is we are amongst those species who are into co-parenting. So that's where we are defined as a species, because
Correct.
there are asexual reproductions, there are many organisms who have asexual reproduction. Then there are some in which there is a reproduction, like one organism has both the sexes,
Correct.
or one sex produces the
Correct.
progeny or gives birth to a next organism. And then there is a third thing where there is a parenting, either single or co-parenting.
Co-parenting.
So these two are clear-cut, what I can say, categories, wherein so we belong to a category.
Right.
So which is established now that we are into that, and co-parenting is
Yeah.
used to be a kind
Right,
of a
right.
feature in the evolution.
Right.
Okay. Now, whenever it comes to evolution, it is always about what were the practices that resulted into a better reproductive success of that species. So
Correct.
the only rule evolution follows is the reproductive success,
Correct.
in which there are two things. One is the nurturance, and second is the protection of the young ones. Okay, and the balance of those results into a reproductive system. Say, for example, where the chances of survival of the young organisms are less, then the female or whosoever is producing the young ones, the number is very large.
Yeah.
Okay. In humans also, over the period of history that maybe we'll see, that wherever there is like the possibility of survival of the young ones is less, then obviously the number of children delivered were more. Okay, now we are seeing the possibility of survival of the young ones has increased, which we call as infant mortality
Correct.
rate.
Correct.
Okay, mortality and morbidity rate. So now with that, the number of children that are given birth to also has got
Correct.
reduced.
Correct.
Another thing which comes in the context of evolution also, whenever the resources are less, okay, and one has to manage within those resources, and still the next generation has to survive, there also there is a different mathematics done by the nature or in the process of evolution, that how many young ones are going to be born or how many. Okay, so these are certain things which are a part of we, no matter at which age or which era we are into,
Right.
but still that is a part that we carry as a history of a species called sapiens,
Correct.
Homo sapiens.
Homo
Okay,
sapiens.
so this is where we come from. Now, why we need to understand this perspective in terms of parenting is, as I said, co-parenting has been something which is a characteristic which has helped human species to increase the reproductive success. Okay. Now, there are some peculiarities where, when I said like it takes a village to raise a child,
It does.
what is the context of that? There are some peculiarities when it comes to parenting in human beings. Okay. One is the period of dependency is very large, is very big when it comes to human beings. Okay.
Right.
Now, for birds, the young ones are hatched from the eggs, and then that's just a matter of few days or few weeks or just that season, and then they start flying and fetching food for their own self, and then that's where is the end of parenting.
Correct.
So in human beings, the period of dependency is more. That's one thing. Second thing is breastfeeding has been the basic of nurturance.
Correct.
And the food that the infant gets is. So the mother always had to be near the infant, because whenever the infant cries
Correct.
for want of food, then the mother has to immediately go and attend the infant and feed the infant. Again,
Prioritize that over everything else. Yeah.
because again it is related to the
Survival.
reproductive success and the survival of that species.
Yeah.
So the mother has to. Okay, now this simple thing, how it impacted these two things, if we combine, that the period of dependency is more and the mother has to feed the child. Now in some tribes, till now also, the practice of breastfeeding the child till 3 years of age, 2 to 3 years of age, still continues.
Still continues.
Now with a changed lifestyle, there are a lot of different things, but then we'll talk about it later. But then the fact still remains. So if the mother has to be there for the infant, available at least for 2 to 3 years to feed the infant, then A, she has to be near the infant.
Absolutely.
Okay, so she cannot go out for hunting
Correct.
or anything.
Correct.
But at the same time, she needs to feed herself. So somebody has to bring some food for her. Okay, so she cannot be, she has to be near the infant. Number two, whatever work that she is doing, the moment the infant cries, she has to leave that work
And be with
and
it.
then be with the infant. So she couldn't, division of work happened accordingly.
Okay.
So men could complete the work and then come, whereas women started doing only those tasks which could be left
Correct.
in between, and the woman could
the
attend
infant
the
could
child.
be attended. Yeah. Right.
Okay, so these are simple things because of which the division of work started happening, because of again survival
Survival.
of a species. It is not about individual, it's not about my child or something. It is more about the
Survival of
species
the
survival,
species,
which
yeah.
is the rule of
Right.
evolution. Okay, now these things started happening in human
Yeah.
beings. Okay, then another thing, in human beings, the brain started evolving and developing to a great extent.
Correct.
And as we all know that our brain today is thrice the size and weight of the brain of the ape man or caveman, we
Yeah.
can call it. So that's how the human brain advanced.
Correct.
Now there came another peculiarity when it came to parenting, that the memory part of the brain also is like lot more
Correct.
when it comes to human beings.
Right.
So this young one or this offspring is my child, is the memory which stays with the mother till
She
her
does.
death.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is very peculiar to
Human beings.
human beings. Otherwise, in some birds or in some species, the memory of the mother of the young one being her young one stays only till the time when the young one is dependent on her.
Correct.
The moment the young one becomes independent, the mother's memory of that being her offspring fades away. Okay, which is now
Yeah.
this gives rise
When you
to
think of that, I mean, it's
exactly,
interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then another peculiarity, which was very specific to human this thing is survival of females, quote unquote, women beyond reproductive age. Okay,
Yeah.
that's where is the role of the grandmother.
Okay.
Otherwise, by evolution, there is no need for the female to survive
Huh.
beyond her reproductive age.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, in humans, women have a menopause where is the end of the reproductive age and they still survive because the grandmother played a large part when it came to parenting or nurturing or raising the child, because the woman, when they were hunter-gatherers, she had to leave
Yeah.
the child.
After the
and
reproduction.
who was going to take care of that child who's still not capable of self-protection?
Even after maybe the breastfeeding age is over,
Exactly.
she had to move out for hunting or
For hunting, to
yeah.
gather the food,
Yeah.
to bring the
Yeah.
food. Then who would take care of the
Children. Yeah.
child? And then the grandmother came into picture. And that's
how
the very
she still
reason.
stayed relevant.
Exactly, exactly. So grandmother in the entire period of evolution has been a major contributor in the parenting.
Okay.
And again, the role of the father or the male who is the father, because it was co-parenting, the role of the father was to bring food, okay, and also to protect.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it may not be the father; it could have been any male figure also
Of that
but
tribe.
Exactly. So that's how we the reproductive success of human beings increased, because we started caring, nurturing, and protecting the young ones, not as a one-on-one kind of a process or responsibility, but collectively.
Collectively.
So we are a kind of species who are collaborative breeders.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
So we are collaborative breeders or
Yeah.
cooperative breeders.
Correct.
Because young ones, again, because of some limitations that we have,
Yeah.
that we are highly incapable of self-protection.
Correct.
So there had to be a
An
collaboration
ecosystem of
and a
yeah.
cooperation, or a group of people
Right.
who would really take care of the young ones. Okay, and that's the reason why we say that it takes a village to raise a child, because otherwise human species wouldn't have survived if we weren't cooperative and we weren't helping each other in nurturing and protecting the young ones from our species. So we wouldn't have survived. So
That's such a different perspective to the whole thing. Now that you know this, maybe your perspective of looking at things
correct.
changes a little bit when you know where this whole thing is, where the entire parenting concept of parenting or nurturing or taking care for the survival of the species has really started from. And from there to here, it has been, I think, a journey which is
At least 4 million years.
4 million years, unbelievable. I mean, I can't even imagine how this has evolved over generations and how where we are today in this day and age of technology explosion, as I always say, and it's seriously so different. I mean,
It is.
It is.
And like, as I said, along with the evolution, then there is a corresponding process in the biology of human beings.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, as I said, because the interdependence was to such an extent.
Right.
Okay. Now, the child depending on the parents, the mother, and some male in the community, may not be the father.
Yeah.
But when I say co-parenting, it always has to be
Male,
with
female,
someone.
yeah.
Okay, so it's not just the male, female, or it's not just the
Mother or the
mother
father.
or the father, but it is about being
entire
with
tribe, yeah.
entire tribe, entire group. Okay, now it required lot of bonding also
Yeah,
and trust also,
true.
because the period of dependency again is
Much higher.
much higher or much greater than other animals or organisms. There have to be certain hormones which create that capacity in the brain, and the desire, not capacity, but the desire and the need to remain bonded.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so hormones like oxytocin, which is currently known as love hormone.
Love hormone.
Okay, now that is actually the hormone which helps us to bond with
People.
each other.
Right.
So it is not just the evolution and the reproductive success, but there are biological changes and certain hormones and certain emotional needs arising out of that. They have been a part of the journey as well. Okay, so when I say that, so whenever there is a secretion of oxytocin, the need to belong, the need to be bonded always is felt by
Right.
that human being, by
Right.
that individual. So it is not just the reproduction, but because of certain hormonal changes or certain hormones which came into existence and started getting secreted into human brain to give rise to certain needs, certain emotional needs have really arise out of that. So need to be loved, need to be cared for, need to belong, okay, need to feel that affection and warmth, what we call
Correct,
it,
correct.
is because of the biology, because that bonding was needed for survival.
So
Now,
everything
if
that we
you-
talk about is related to the survival of the species.
Exactly.
Evolved for that reason.
Exactly.
In human beings.
So right now when you said that today the things are so different, so today with all the advancement or the current scenario or the lifestyle that we have, being a single parent is possible.
It is.
Okay?
It is.
We'll talk about it later, but it is possible.
It is.
But that doesn't result into that individual not feeling that need to be loved and cared for and to belong. Those needs are still there.
Still there. Yeah.
Parenting can happen, like single parenting is possible today,
Yeah.
but those needs are there. Okay?
Right.
So actually, the kind of parenting that we are talking about and which we would be talking about is something for which evolution never equipped us.
Correct. Correct.
We were always about co-parenting, multiple pair bonding, and then living in a group, and so cooperative breeders.
Correct.
And experiencing those bonds and those connects and belonging and affection and care and love, all those experiences as emotional experiences have been a part of our journey. So it's not just the evolution but corresponding biology also.
Superb. So, Shirisha, actually this is really empowering to understand how our needs for survival, how they have influenced the evolution and also the biological changes in humans as a species, basically. But other than that, as humans, we also had certain choices and then brought in these changes and led to further evolution up to where we are today, kind of. So, can we then talk about those choices that we've made?
Because that is also equally important to understand that parenting is not just the journey of evolution and the corresponding biological changes that happen in us, but it is also about certain human choices that we made in the history. So our history goes back to, as species, it goes back to, or the known history is more about 4 million years.
Correct.
But one biggest change that happened in this entire history is beginning of farming.
Yeah.
Okay, which started happening, now farming started some 5,000 to 10,000 years back. Okay.
Pretty recent compared to the entire...
if we talk about the evolution. Like when you said pretty recent, the kind of changes or the changes in the environment that we have brought about, say even for the last century.
Yes.
Forget about last 2 decades, okay,
Correct.
where the technological advancement is like crazy.
Yeah.
But even if we look at the changes that have happened in last century,
Correct.
still from the point of view of evolution, it is only that much of slice as slice of time as blink of an eye.
True. True.
Okay, so coming back to the biggest change that happened in human beings and the life of human beings, and probably the beginning of civilization, started happening when we started farming.
Yeah.
Okay, till that time we were hunter gatherers. Okay, so when it came to hunter gatherers, it was like a kind of a cooperation which was needed,
Correct.
and that's how young ones survived. Now when it started farming, two things. On one hand, the survival increased
Yeah.
because we started producing something.
Correct.
Okay, when we were hunter gatherers, there was
You had to-
nothing like
yeah.
producing something. But when we started farming, we started producing something.
True.
Okay, which means we started providing something for we started making provisions for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is not a kind of a linear equation.
Yeah.
That we started producing something, we started making provisions for the future, and that's how the survival rate increased. Okay, that's not
That's
how
not
it
the
happened so simply.
Correct.
Okay, now this farming and storing something for the future, making provisions for the future, resulted into two human tendencies or characteristics, we can call it. One is that if I am making provisions for tomorrow, then that provision has to go to my progeny and
Correct.
nobody else.
Yeah.
Okay, and then if my progeny's survival depend on what I am going to really store
Or leave for them, or
today,
provide for them.
then I have to own up.
Correct.
So owning up immovable property
Started from there.
started from
And if I own
Okay.
something, then I have to be sure that it is passed on to my
passed
own
on
genes.
to my own genes. It
Right.
cannot go on to some another young one of somebody else.
Yeah.
It cannot go. Okay,
Yeah.
so sense of ownership. Then it has to really pass on to my progeny. So the kind of control, and there came another factor which is like a very important factor called power.
Power.
That I have to be powerful to really protect what I own.
Yeah.
Now, these were never a part of evolutionary process for millions of years, but then they started from some 10,000, 5,000 years back. Another thing is, it required again cooperation of not many other people, because farming involves so many tasks,
Yeah.
okay, which only a single person cannot do.
Correct.
Okay, so it required other people who would do certain tasks.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's how, and of course they needed to be at that place.
Correct.
Okay, so that's how the village got
Developed.
set up.
The Bara Balutedars and the different professions that emerged from all of that.
Exactly.
So,
So, farming required multiple tasks, which required a community or
Yeah.
a cooperation and a collaboration. So, from there started what I can say, a conflicting this thing where cooperation is also necessary, but at the same time,
Competition.
competition and aggression or
Power.
need to be powerful to own up that. Now, this is the conflict which has started from there.
still see it today.
Still,
Yeah.
like there are crisis periods, especially the pandemic, where all of us realized that whatever survived, like the survival depended largely on cooperation.
Yeah.
Okay, and now that crisis is over, so to say, and people have started becoming aggressive. Now the wars that we are seeing around globally, so these are the human tendencies. We call them as virtues and vices. Actually, for evolution, these are just the characteristics. Okay, and they continued in species because they had their own benefits.
So if we think about that, then the true sense of patriarchy, would I say, or
Yeah, whatever provision that I'm making for tomorrow has to go to my progeny, then I have to be 200% sure that this is my child.
So the woman has to be loyal.
In lock and key.
In lock and key. Interesting.
Okay, and then she has to be there, and then the men would go out and work.
Yeah.
And that's how the division started again. It is because of, as I said,
but again, the root cause was that the mother had to be there to nurture the child, because she's the one who could, for
so
breastfeeding
she couldn't be away
nurture,
from
and
the
she
infant.
couldn't be away. So the division of work started because of this basic evolutionary
Correct.
need, and
then
we
with
have
farming,
seen,
these things got added to it.
Yeah.
I'll just stop here by giving you a simple example. Okay. See, whenever we were hunter-gatherers, we were just a group of 100, 150 people. Okay. So, in a group of 100 or 150 people who were day in and day out living together, trusting each other was
fairly easy.
Fairly easy because we knew each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when we started farming, the size of the group increased.
Right.
And it almost became 1,500 or something like that, which the size of the group increased. Okay. Now it became very difficult to trust because I cannot know 1,500 people.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So trust became an issue. So there came a system, okay, which will have the power and the authority to punish those who break the trust, or whenever there is a breach of trust and do something damaging to the other person, then they need to be controlled and punished for their wrongdoing. So there came a system, either the political system or the religious system, which had that authority and power to punish.
Correct.
Okay. Now those duties were assigned to some people. That's how systems came into existence. Now those people or those human beings couldn't be there for all the time to check who's like behaving in some or
it's not pro-social behavior
or breaking the trust or something doing which is damaging to the other person. Then came a concept of something which is omnipresent, which is all the time watching you and looking at you, and just there would be a consequence if you do something wrong. And then that entity could be called as God or something which is omnipresent, which has a fairness. So if you do something wrong, there would be a punishment.
A consequence for that,
Consequence of that, and there would be a punishment. The punishment may not be given by those human beings who were a part of that system, either the religion or the power, but there would be someone who's watching you, and that entity will give you a punishment if you do something wrong. Okay, now these are the concepts which have evolved, human construct, which have come out of this trust and distrust, and yet living and bringing up or nurturing the young ones. So this is the idea of punishment. These are certain things which again keep on impacting human life and of course parenting as well.
Friends, today, I mean, this was a part of understanding how we have, actually evolved, what were our needs, what were the reasons why we made certain choices to where we are today, and parenting as a whole. Now today, if we talk about parenting, it has become very complex.
Correct.
It has become extremely complex. That's what we are seeing day in and day out, Shirisha, when we are working with schools and teachers and with parents. There are so many questions which have started. I mean, overall, I see that there's a relationship revolution. You know, it was like I never remembered these conversations where with my parents or my grandkids, if a child wakes up at night, who would get up to change the diapers?
Correct.
It was so given, you know,
Exactly.
kind of.
Exactly.
But today there are even divorces happening on this particular reason.
Correct.
So things have changed drastically, and how.
Exactly.
And parenting in itself has become more complex because the lives of individuals have become more complex.
Correct.
Plus nurturing another infant.
Correct.
And
what we inherit
and
as
what
a
we
part of
inherit remains.
evolution, biology, history.
Yeah.
So it's interplay of all these factors now.
Together, but we don't realize. On the surface, as parents, we feel we are only doing this job of parenting. We have been parented in a certain way, and we are going to now try and raise our children in a certain way.
Exactly.
And now there is Google.
Yeah.
To add on to this whole confusion as to do, not to do, what to
Correct.
do. You see one ad saying, okay, this is good for your child. The second minute you will see another reel saying, oh, this is the worst thing that you could do to your child. It's very confusing overall.
Correct.
In this era of digital, and even for me, if I remember my parenting also, like when I first became a parent, you know, it all transformed. When I knew that I'm going to be a mother, all my choice, even the breath that I took, subconsciously it would be whether it is good for my child or not.
Correct.
You know, and then the information coming to me from books, from elders, from everywhere, and then you know, then trial and error. Then I felt, oh, this is not working. There's something else. So it has been a journey basically. So friends, the entire purpose of Once a Parent is to talk about things which are, you know, we feel that this is happening to me, but the fact is, the more it is personal, the more it is universal.
Yeah.
And we as parents are sailing in the same boat.
Yeah.
So we want to create a community where you feel safe. At the end of the day, some point we come together as, you know, we can share, we have a safe space to share, and also understand that we are not alone. We can reach out, we can have certain insights.
Correct.
And it should grow organically is what we feel, but we are going to just put things out.
We are going to create a virtual village.
A virtual village,
going to raise a
that
child.
can raise a child. And the first episode, it was very important to touch base on this entire evolution, though it might have sounded serious and a little more, you know, kind of scientific or, you know, more of kind of facts and figures. But still, this was important to set the context. And as we move on, we will be talking about what has changed in this complex world, and can we still simplify parenting in the complex world. So our next episode will be around, is it possible to simplify or simple parenting in this today's complex world, you know. These are discussions, you know, basically. There's nothing right or wrong, we are no authority, we are just going to bring across to you what we...
That's the very thing we need to understand, that it is interplay of so many factors.
Yeah.
So how can there be one single idea of ideal parenting? There cannot be.
They cannot.
So each one will have to arrive at their own understanding and what works.
Yeah.
And then children can really experience multiple ways of being and relating.
Yeah.
And that's the virtual village.
That's the virtual village. That's a nice line. So I think I'm going to stop this episode at this note. A very important one. Yes, we always needed a village to raise a child, and we need a virtual village now, in Shirisha's words, to raise a child. And this is the endeavor of Once a Parent. As I always say, there's no rule book. There's nothing right or wrong. Every parent is unique. Every child is unique. The combination of these two is even more unique. And it is a journey to unfold, right? So this first episode is, I would say, very, very important to set the right foundation to the discussions that we are going to do further on, because from now on we will talk about the complexities of today's day and age, today's parenting, aajkal ke bacche and aajkal ke parents, and all around that entire thing that is going on, and it is complex. I mean, I would not trivialize the challenges of parents that are there in today's day and age. In no way we can trivialize them, because they are serious issues, and our work with schools and teachers and parents has already brought a few questions to the fore.
Correct.
So these insights are only going to help. We want to put them out. I mean, it's all going to be up to you to make use of it and your own takeaways from whatever we can have through our conversations. Thank you so much for being with us, and do stay tuned for further episodes. Our next episode is going to be around simple parenting in a complex world. See you soon. Thank you. Bye.